What's going on, everyone? Survivor Season 46, Episode 3 just aired. Let's talk about it. We start out the episode at the Purple Tribe with Banu feeling, in his words, a little foolish for thinking he was going home last episode and, kind of blowing up everything that went on at Tribal and everything he kind of revealed, even though it was just them, kind of not a good sign going forward. And then the rest of the tribe had to explain to him about the fake idol that they gave to Jess and everything that transpired, basically, but he doesn't seem too upset about it. But they basically tell him, like, hey, you gotta watch what you reveal at Tribal, like, hey, like, you can lie to Jeff, like, it's fine. And we saw Q kind of say this at Tribal last time, like, hey, man, you gotta watch, like, what you say at Tribal, like, not just, like, if we're gonna continue to work together, like, now, but also, when we swap tribes or merge. Basically, he was getting that, should Banu stay around for that part of the game. Now, Banu says he doesn't know. They try to teach him the phrase or the quote, you got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. He doesn't know that. He doesn't know how to lie. That's not the game he wants to play. But overall, the Purple Tribe is still in rough shape. They don't have a solid shelter. They obviously don't have fire or anything yet because they haven't won any challenges. Banu says he's gone if they lose again because there are three masterminds. Talking about Kenzie, Q, and Tiffany. Says they're masterminds and he doesn't stand a chance going forward if they lose, so he just starts looking for an idol. Then he got a little emotional talking to Kenzie, basically asking for her help and asking to work with her. And, he doesn't want to throw a name out, though. Kenzie asks for a name, like, hey, like, usually when this happens, like, we each throw a name out, I think we should go here. What do you think? Like, what do you feel about this? Whatever. But it's always a tricky situation there about who you can trust, like what name you throw out. But he just won't throw a name out. He's like, just tell me. I just want to work with you. And, Kenzie, says, which was kind of, I think, what a lot of us as fans are thinking. Like, he loves the game and is passionate about the game, but he doesn't know how to play. Not saying anyone comes out knowing how to play. Not saying I would know how to play if I went out there right now either. But in Kenzie's words, he doesn't have a strategic bone in his body. I just think he's so nice and he's just so passionate about the game. Doesn't want to leave. And, that's why we see kind of the gameplay from him right now. Now, then Banu kind of goes into a little spiral here, saying that Kenzie is like, the mastermind of all masterminds of the three, and calling her a mermaid, like a mermaid dragon, like she, puts on this nice face, but is really like out to get you. Something, I don't know, it was a very, interesting dialogue from Banu there, but he starts spiraling a little bit. Now, him and Q end up talking afterwards, and, Q says, you can be my Philip to my Boston Rob, basically however you were, basically calling him, Philip, and he'll be Boston Rob, but like I said, Banu at this point, for the first 5-10 minutes of the episode, kind of just spiraling, but it's good TV. He's very entertaining, and, overall, he's a really good guy. Over at the Green Tribe, they go on a group idol hunt. I don't know, why, but Jem ends up finding the Beware advantage. She goes back and finds the box, but obviously had to put a pin in that till they, lose a challenge. And then they actually did answer my question that I posed. I believe it was last episode recap. It said in there that in the event your tribe never loses, there will be further instructions. So I wonder if they read that every time, but they just didn't put it in because maybe the Green Tribe won't lose, so it'll actually come into effect here. But that's something to put a pin in going forward. Over at the Orange Tribe, Survivor MacGyver gets dropped again, talking about Hunter. That was a throwback from 10-15 seasons ago. I can't remember the Survivor they were calling that. Was it Joe? I think it was Joe they were talking about way back. But we have a new Survivor MacGyver and Hunter. He's building kind of like a bed, and we also see him back at home and all the challenges he made, for himself to practice and for also his kids in his classes. He talks about how he turned down a full ride to medical school to teach after subbing for his sister in his hometown, and then ended up taking up teaching full time. And we get some pretty cool clips of that. That's awesome. All the stuff he built, and for his kids to, do these games and do these puzzles, that's really cool. And Venus tells Raiden that she thinks Hunter and Tevin are running this game currently. And we saw this last episode that Venus and Raiden kind of made a little alliance here, so see if they can get any momentum in this game to get something forward. But obviously, they haven't had to do anything yet because they haven't lost a challenge and had to go to Tribal Council. But something to keep an eye on, Raiden gets up, and I guess they had a rough night sleeping on the bamboo, and his whole right side is kind of like stiff, or so like he can't really move it. He can't grip or anything with his right hand. Medical looks at him and he's planning on kind of just resting before the challenge, and hope he's able to go. And at this point you're assuming nothing serious going forward, since they didn't take any further action at this point, but we move on. At the immunity challenge, the tribes are competing. They also get rewards. The reward is a big survivor's toolkit and a big tarp, and then second place gets a smaller toolkit and a smaller tarp. Raiden ends up sitting out of the challenge, so we'll put a pin in his injury for now. Orange wins immunity again, and then Hunter was really carrying this immunity challenge. It was pretty impressive to watch. Green wins again too, so that means purple is going back to tribal council again. So that means they will be down to 3 people after the tribal council tonight. And then also something interesting to watch, Tim from the green tribe ends up saying, hang in there guys, to purple. So something to kind of watch for going forward. If maybe when there's a tribe swap, he tries to swoop in with those guys, or if there's any inroads there. Always something to watch out for in Survivor. Then there's going to be a journey. Orange, since they came in first place, gets to choose who all goes. Liz goes, and then she chooses Ben and Banu to go. Now, obviously, the purple tribe, they're nervous because Banu is the one person they didn't want to go because he kind of word vomits, for lack of a better word. They don't know what he's going to say. Q is being hard on himself because he was a D1 athlete and he didn't deliver in the challenge. There was 1 bag left for them to win the challenge, and he didn't get it and didn't deliver. He gets emotional, reminiscing about in high school when there was about a minute left in the game and he fumbled. The other team picked it up and won, and talked about how in the paper on Monday the headline was Bernadette fumbles, basically, in the headline. So he, that brought up some memories for him. Ed struggled with that for a little bit, was, emotional, which rightfully so. I mean, I can't imagine how tough it is out there right now. I mean, struggling, about a little over a week or so into the game, haven't won challenge, don't have a solid shelter, don't have, anything, especially that the other 2 tribes have, fire, probably a better shelter because of the supplies they've able to get. So just a rough start overall for this group, one of the rougher ones in recent memory that I can remember, at least. Q told Kenzie and Tiff to 2 separate conversations to vote him out. Kenzie and Tiff both obviously said, like, I'm not voting you out, like, basically we need to get Banu out. And then Tiff says, I got my own plan, I don't need coaching. She's gonna steer what she wants to get done in this game. At the journey, Ben shouts out Banu for the heart that he's putting into this game and how hard he's playing, and basically says that players have came back from worse than this. So basically keep his head up and try to keep his spirits up, because you could tell he was struggling a little bit. And then the advantage, or the point of this journey, is 2 players will get a chance to win an advantage. They pick rocks. There's 3 of them in there, 2 blue, 1 white. The 2 will compete, and then the white rock will just go back to camp and won't have their game affected in any way. Liz asks Banu if they're okay over there at the Purple Tribe, and he said he thinks tonight is his last tribal. And then Banu kind of breaks down a little bit and just kind of starts spilling out all the information, tells them that Tiffany and Q are really close and that Kenzie is the mastermind and the brain controlling everything. He gives them all the info, basically, even about them saying that he was playing too emotional. And then he drops the awesome quote, I'm not here to win $1 million, I'm here to win 1,000,000 hearts. Little corny, as Ben says, but I thought that basically describes who Banu is. Liz gets the white rock, so Ben and Banu compete. They have to arrange 9 blocks to form a cube on the table in the, allotted area they have, and they have to finish before the, hourglass timer runs out. Banu almost gets it, but it's not right, and he has, kind of rework it. The timer runs out, so he has no vote. So no vote also means he can't play the shot in the dark either. And then Ben doesn't get it either. But obviously the focus is on Banu here because of the looming tribal council. Both Ben and Liz go back to their tribes and tell all the info that Banu gave. Ben comes up with a lie that he still doesn't know until a later time if he lost his vote or he got an advantage. And the story seemed a little bit choppy. I don't know if that was just the editing of the episode or if that's how the story went, but obviously I don't imagine he had a lot of time to kind of come up with, said lie that he was going to tell them, or the story he was going to tell them. Banu gets back to the Purple Tribe there and tells them he drew the white rock and didn't compete. So they're like, oh, that's good for us. But then he does tell them that he shared with Liz and Ben that his name was on the chopping block. But then when he goes off and talks with Q, he does tell him that he did lose his vote. Q said, I have a different plan than getting Banu out. He wants to keep him as an alliance member. As we saw earlier in the episode, wants to use him kind of as like a fill-up to his Boston Rob, and then wants to try to use Banu, going forward, and wants to get Kenzie out tonight. Kenzie's a threat and Banu a liability is what Q said here. Q tells Tiffany about this plan, but Tiff has a relationship with Kenzie who she knows is a threat, but believes is on her side. And then Tiffany still wants Banu tonight, and then obviously Kenzie does as well. At least we haven't seen any plans from Kenzie so far to get Q out, except a little bit last episode, but nothing this episode so far. We actually jump over to Randon to check in on his injury, and medical comes in to double check on him again. And then I guess it's not also just his wrist that won't move and is all stiff, but it was also his neck that was sore, and said it could be something with one of his discs. So they do end up having to pull him from the game, which you always hate to see. It's so emotional. You wait your whole, life. You've been watching the show for, 25 years it's been on. I'm assuming I don't know Randon's whole story. We unfortunately didn't get to see a lot of him, but, it's their dream to get on Survivor, and they get out there and something medical or something completely out of their control happens. I can't even imagine, the emotion going through, but I think he handles it, very well, and, encourages the tribe to keep winning even without him there. Then we jump back to Purple, and Banu's, getting emotional, talking to Tiff about how he thinks it's him, and Tiff's like, I haven't decided fully if I'm writing you down. Jeff comes in, interrupts the conversation, brings everyone together. He tells them that Randon was pulled from the game and tells them no tribal tonight. Then in the preview for next week, it still looks like no swap. So really the Purple Tribe here is, again, chancing it with four players remaining. Could jump down to 3 if they lose again, if there is no swap. And then we see in the confessionals after the credits that Randon thankfully is okay. His hand, everything's working now, and it's fine. So that is good to hear. But obviously an emotional night. From the Randon perspective, you hate seeing anyone get medically evacuated or getting not evacuated, getting medically pulled from the game. So you feel for Randon, and he seemed like a great guy. Hopefully he, in the future, maybe gets a second chance here to come back in the game. Would like to see him come back and able to compete and live out that dream that he had coming into this game. But thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.